In military tactics, the ambush is designed to maximize asymmetry. It offers an attacker the chance to strike from a position of relative safety, aiming to resolve a conflict before the target can effectively respond. But that strategy carries a specific risk. If the trap fails to finish the job, the attacker has a serious problem. By breaking the established rules of engagement, they have signaled that the traditional limits of the conflict no longer apply. This creates a state of extreme pressure. When a target is pushed to the brink of survival, they are forced to abandon their standard habits and develop new, often more lethal tactics simply to endure. We see this process play out across history. One instance involves a lone Japanese swordsman cornered by a mob. The other features an English king driven from his throne and into the freezing swamps. In both cases, surviving a treacherous ambush forced the victims to adapt. They developed the specific innovations that would eventually enable them to dismantle the very forces that tried to trap them. In the spring of 1604, Kyoto was the center of highly formalized sword fighting, dominated by the strict, predictable traditions of the Yoshioka school. Miyamoto Musashi, a 21-year-old wanderer, arrived in the capital and began dismantling the school's reputation. In his first duel, Musashi shattered the shoulder of the headmaster, Yoshioka Seijiro, ending his martial career and forcing him into life as a monk. Humiliated after Musashi killed a second headmaster in a follow-up duel, the remaining Yoshioka members abandoned their formal rules. They invited Musashi to a third match at the Sagarimatsu pine tree, but hid a mob of students armed with bows and matchlock rifles in the brush. Traditional sword combat relies on a single forward defensive arc, leaving fighters exposed to 360-degree threats. But this ambush forced rapid adaptation. Drawing his companion blade shifted Musashi's geometry. An overlapping second arc created a barrier, deflecting simultaneous strikes from multiple directions. Using this flurry of steel, Musashi charged. He cut down the 12-year-old headmaster, broke their lines, and sent the heavily armed students into a retreat. The Yoshioka intended to use their numbers to secure a quick victory. Instead, their trap forced Musashi to develop a two-sword style specifically designed for crowd control. Hundreds of years earlier, in 878 AD, King Alfred of Wessex relied on a different kind of formal tradition. To manage the great heathen army, Alfred secured a treaty where the Viking warlord Guthrum swore a sacred oath to leave his kingdom in peace. Guthrum broke that oath almost immediately. Knowing the Saxons were unarmed, Viking warriors burst through the doors of a Christmas feast, launching a surprise attack. The attack shattered Alfred's power structure. He lost his lords, his standing army, and his castle, narrowly escaping into the Somerset marshes with a small band of bodyguards. Stripped of his royal privilege, Alfred hid among peasant farmers, famously burning the cakes of a woman who gave him shelter. This loss of status changed his tactical thinking. Alfred realized that relying on royal guards and fragile treaties was ineffective. He bypassed the traditional nobility, sending messengers into the countryside to secretly rally a militia of common farmers at Egbert's Stone. This new force marched on Guthrum at Edington. In a brutal, close-quarters melee, Alfred's conscripted army broke the Viking shield wall, securing a Saxon victory. By dismantling Alfred's traditional court, the Vikings forced him to build a unified military state from the ground up, one more resilient than the kingdom they had first invaded. The adaptations born from these ambushes eventually led to the collapse of the attackers. Musashi refined his two-sword style, survived the encounter at the pine tree, and the Yoshioka school's influence ended shortly after. Guthrum, his army broken, was forced into a surrender. Alfred spared his life, but required the warlord to convert to Christianity, ending his role as a threat to Wessex. Alfred used the momentum of that victory to restructure his kingdom's defenses. He built the first English navy and began to unify the nation, becoming the only English monarch remembered as the Great. The stability resulting from his military reforms allowed Wessex to flourish. Cultural artifacts from this period, like the intricate gold and enamel work of the Alfred jewel, show a kingdom that had recovered its sophistication and wealth. These cases show that a failed ambush does more than just prolong a conflict. It strips the target of their old limitations. When the safety of the old rules is gone, the version of the enemy that survives is the one that has learned how to fight without them.